Welcome to Los Angeles. Welcome to the Rizzo Run Club podcast. What is up, running family? My name is Rizzo from Los Angeles. Welcome to another episode of the Rizzo Run Club podcast. This podcast is dedicated to the Los Angeles running community. It is also dedicated to the build up to the 40th running of the LA Marathon, which will be March 2025. We hope to see everyone come and register or support the race. For the 2025 LA Marathon, I am making this race accessible to those who cannot afford the registration fees. I will elaborate more at the end of this podcast and go over those details. Although we are going to talk a lot about the LA running community today, we hope that wherever you are watching or listening, it will inspire you to get onto your own communities and make a difference. But my guest today is just someone who's just an amazing, spectacular runner. She is, I call her the face of the Los Angeles running community. I call her the hero of Los Angeles, and a lot of people refer to her as the warrior. And just real quick, she holds the world record for the youngest Latina to run 100 marathons. She just got back from Western States. I got some notes here, so I just don't want to make sure I'm messing this up. She just got back from the ESPY Awards. Next week is the San Francisco Marathon, and she has a partnership with the San Francisco Marathon, and she'll be out there running. And most importantly, she is a longtime Los Angeles Marathon ambassador. So, I mean, it's just an honor today, Rizzo Run Club podcast, to have Jocelyn, the warrior Rivas. Welcome to Rizzo Run Club podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk to you.
Amazing. It's just, it's a tremendous honor. So, I want to get into your story a little bit. But, I think a lot of us in the LA running community, we're so proud of you. You just got back from Western States. You want to talk about that a little bit?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, might as well. I think eventually, I'll talk about it.
I think we should start with, what is that experience like? I mean, Western States is such a prestigious race, right? It's one of the oldest races. Is the first 100-mile race?
Yeah, it's the oldest trail race.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can only imagine, what is that experience like getting there that weekend? Everyone's there. They have shakeout runs. Want to describe kind of the atmosphere there?
Yeah, definitely. So I arrived on a Wednesday, I think it was 3 days before the race.
Yeah.
Kind of late. It was beautiful. I mean, we basically stayed in a place that was literally in front of the race.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful, and we didn't get to experience a lot on Wednesday, but once we started Thursday, we went to shakeout runs, and it just felt magical. It felt like you were living somewhere else. You were not even in the United States. Wow. It was just so much beauty, and I felt like I couldn't believe that I was there, first of all, and it just really, really felt magical.
Yeah. And it was obviously your first Western States, right?
Yes,
and,
my first.
I did see on Instagram you were part of some speaking panels as well. You were out there.
Yeah. They invited me to be part of two. One was for Rising Hearts, and that's just to kind of represent of how many people are in the stage, with different cultures and different backgrounds. And then the other one was about just, faces of Western States.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Did you see any of your running idols up there?
Oh yeah, I think that was part of the magic. I got to see Harvey, which he has a record for the most miles ran.
Yeah.
Consecutive, and he's actually running Badwater this week. So it was pretty cool that I got to see him.
Sure.
And who else did I get to see? It was so many people. Callie, she's all about basically an advocate.
Yes.
And who else did I get to see? It was so many people. Jordan, she's a phenomenal, advocate as well.
Yeah.
So many people, so many.
who's the Sally McRae? Did you see her up there?
I did. You're
Yeah,
right. I did see
yeah.
her. I also saw Hella. Now that I remember, I saw Hella. Hella is probably one of my biggest inspirations.
Yeah.
He inspires me a lot. So it was pretty cool to finally get to meet him.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to meet him for like so many times in
Sure.
marathons. I try going to his shakeout runs. Somehow I always have like an event that
Yeah.
doesn't allow me to. But it was so cool to see him and
Yeah.
to see Sally and so many amazing
Yeah.
athletes. And I think that was part of it. I didn't feel like, I was like, oh, what am I doing here? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
These are bees people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Sally McRae, I mean,
Yeah.
she's amazing. You had a chance to speak with her?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she wished me well. And she was like, you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
And remember, like, her whole, like, thing is, like, being strong.
Yes.
And that's basically the words she gave me. It was just like, remember, you're strong and you have it in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And remember last LA Marathon, did you see her on the course?
Yeah, I actually saw her.
Everyone ran past her. It's like, what?
No, it's so crazy, but I actually seen her like 3 times doing like my races. I
Yeah.
seen her like at the Surf City Marathon,
Yeah.
and I also seen her at the Surf City Half, and then I think I saw her once at the I think it was Orange County one.
Yeah.
And then LA
that-
Marathon last year.
So great.
Mhm.
And hella good. He was there. He's so nice. He's such a nice guy, right?
Yeah, definitely very inspiring, and he was so kind, and he's also vegan, so I feel like there's that connection of
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm like, I actually messaged him before the race, like a couple months before, and I asked him, hey, like, what was your nutrition? He gave me like his nutrition plan,
Yeah.
and I try to like kind of adapt what he like was eating.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was pretty good, and he was very friendly to like kind of share that too,
Yeah.
you know, because I feel like it really helped me to know that, hey, I'm eating the right things, I'm taking the right things.
Yeah. And just amazing that like you messaged him and he got back to you, because he's got like so many followers. Like, you know, for someone of that caliber to still, you know, connect with their followers, he's an amazing guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I was so appreciated because I feel like I honestly run my races. I know what to take, but it's always good to kind of get that insight of what other people are taking,
Yeah.
because sometimes you could be missing something. And I think one thing about me is I love always kind of like progressing my nutrition. If I can make it better, like
Yeah.
let's attempt to make it
Yeah,
better.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And we'll get back to your nutrition a little bit, because you are plant-based,
Yeah.
and I kind of want to go over that. But back to Western States. So weekend was phenomenal. Did you sleep the night before, or were you up?
I actually wanted to not sleep so much because I had things to get ready,
Okay.
but like time was just running out.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like if I could remember, Friday was just like back to back to back to back things.
Yeah.
And somehow I got to like 8 p.m. and I still had to get like my gear ready.
Oh my
And
God.
then Juan was like, just go to sleep. And
Yeah.
I was like, but I need to. He's like, just go to sleep. But
And Juan took care of everything.
well, I thought he did, but I told him, hey, charge my Garmin. He thought I said charge your Garmin.
Oh my
So he
God.
charged his Garmin.
Yeah.
And in the morning I woke up and I was like, hey, like, I don't see my Garmin. It's not charged. And then I see it's only like 40% charge.
Oh, I would have been sweating. How'd you do it?
Well, I started charging it and I knew like my watch would eventually die.
Yeah.
But at the end I was just like, you know what, like at the end, like I know what it is to like kind of run and how to feel. So I should know like the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I truly love. Like, you're connected to your body
Yeah.
so much. I mean, obviously, we're going to get into that more, because there's only one way that you can do what you've done, is to be connected to
Yeah.
your body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's an infamous, scene in Instagram of all the runners that ran Western States. The sun is starting to barely creep up the mountain, and all the runners are run up, and it's just like the Tour de France, you know, all the fans just going nuts. And I seen the pictures of you coming up. Was that just spectacular?
I think that was the one thing where I could never imagine. I knew it was going to be great, but I could never truly think how amazing it was going to be.
Wow.
Like once I got there and I just heard all the cheers and everything, I just felt like it was the most magical thing I have ever experienced
Wow.
in my entire life when it comes to like running related. And it was
Amazing.
like the biggest high of your life. And to see like people like Myra was going to be one of my pacers.
Yes.
To see her and, you know, just see everyone cheering for me.
Yeah.
It just felt amazing. And it just felt like I was somewhere magical, and I couldn't even describe it like into words what it was.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was.
Amazing.
I think it gave me kind of like that little push to just keep going forward.
Yeah.
At the same time, because I knew that was gonna be like kind of like the last point where I was gonna see someone.
Yeah.
Until like mile 24.
And what mile was that?
Mile 4. Yeah.
That was barely mile 4?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, everyone crazy enough. So everyone wakes up early morning, like around 2:30 in the morning, and they actually start hiking it up at 3 in the morning to get there before like the people who are running the
Right,
event.
because it is isolated. And I heard you really got to trek up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like when I did it, it was kind of, I mean, I felt like it wasn't like I think that was actually the part that I was the most scared of for the entire course.
Yeah.
It was the one part where I had no idea how I was going to look,
Yeah.
how I was going to feel. But it was the one part where I was like, once I did, I was like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see the map and you see the like elevation gain.
Sure.
And you're like, that's a lot in just 4 miles.
Yeah.
But I got through it and it was like really magical. It's also the part where you see like a lot of like ultra marathoners walking,
Yes.
and then even the elites. And it kind
Yeah.
of gives you like that example that, we power hike. Trail runners power hike.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many so you would hands down say this was the greatest racing experience you've ever had, right?
Yeah, basically.
And you've run okay, how many marathons have you run?
So far, 122. Yeah.
122 marathons. And then how many 100-mile races have you done?
That one was my third one.
Third one.
Yeah, but I didn't finish.
Yeah, which we'll get to right now. But I mean, just to think all these marathons, 122, this was your third 100-mile race. So 124 races. And we're not even counting like half marathons. Jeez,
Yeah.
it's probably hundreds, right? And 5Ks,
Yeah.
10Ks. And hands down the greatest race experience. And it's amazing that we sit here and you're saying this is the greatest race experience. And unfortunately, we had to DNF.
Yeah.
And it was still the greatest race experience. Like, this says so much about that day and your experience. I mean,
yeah,
unbelievable.
I think part of it was like going into the race, I know what trail running represents.
Yeah.
And it's like when it comes to like kind of like being inclusive, they are inclusive. But even then, like there's only few people of color out there running that day.
Yeah.
So I knew like the representation I was giving to like my community. And at the same time, I felt that pressure to finish
Sure.
too. I felt so
Sure.
much pressure because it was also my first sponsored race with like a brand like Hoka.
Hoka, yeah.
And I was like, I gotta finish.
Yeah.
And somehow I didn't. So it was devastating. But it was also, I think, the biggest thing that made it so magical is just knowing that I think I see it as a team sport. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like knowing that I was out there, but I wasn't alone.
Sure.
Even though I didn't get to like use any of my pacers, it was just knowing that it was a journey of not just my dream, but also their dreams. Because when it came to mile 30.3, the cutoff where I was like 3 minutes late, I obviously started crying.
Of course.
And then you see like majority of my crew crying.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what hurt the most, knowing that it wasn't just my dream, but it was so many people's dream,
Yeah.
just because of what I represent, and it was like so painful.
Yeah.
And I don't like letting anyone down. No one does.
Of course.
And I felt like I did, and I kept saying sorry, but it was just what I was going through at that point where I felt defeated and I felt like I let them down, because they also took time out of their day, their week to train with me or to dedicate time to me.
Sure.
Or even make, the trip there. So it just felt like devastating. But yeah, it was just like at this point I have to like face it. I didn't finish, and
Yeah.
it came down to that.
Yeah. And we were talking off the camera before we started. We've both of us, we've never DNF'd. So, to face that is just, it's a tough day regardless. But I'm sure Hoka, stood behind you and offered so much support to you as well as your team, right?
Yeah, I would say
yeah.
so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think one of the biggest thing was like even before the race, Hoka was really like supportive. They sent me so much gear. They sent me so much shoes.
Yeah.
Like my biggest thing always when it comes to training is like, oh, like my shoes are beat up. I need new shoes. And like I never had to worry about that during my training because they really provided the support for like the trail shoes.
Yeah.
And like I think that's part of it, like kind of like making it more easy on the runner.
Yeah.
Like not having to worry about those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Because at some point trail races are a little bit more expensive than road races. And sometimes you get surprised. You're like, oh, what? I spent so much money on this. So I think that's part of the aspect that Hoka wanted to provide, where you didn't have to worry about the money, finance when it comes to it, like at least for your gear and your shoes and stuff like that. Yeah.
What is the Western States registration fee? Do you know?
I think it's like roughly like around like 400 or 300. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of up there. Yeah.
I think I looked it up and then I can't remember right now.
Right.
But it was up there. It wasn't like too outrageous like other ones.
Yeah.
I've seen some are like $500.
Oh my God.
There's other ones are like around like 1,500.
Wow.
And you're like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, like right now I'm trying to like sign up for Cocodona. And then I saw the registration fee. I was like, I'm gonna need to ask some help here.
Yeah. Hoka, hi. Need some help.
They'll be like, you didn't finish the last race, so I don't know.
And they're like, no, can't help you. Okay, New Balance, hi.
No.
No, I'm just playing with you. But, you know, we were also speaking off the camera. You know, there is a difference between missing the cutoff. You missed the cutoff, the third cutoff. There's a difference between missing the cutoff and you're just spent. It wasn't your day. You're falling apart. But you actually showed up to the cutoff feeling pretty good. Legs are still fresh. Nutrition was on point. It was just a miscalculation, I guess, right?
I mean, when it comes to it, like kind of like reflecting after the race, there were some mistakes made from my part where I started the race a little bit too slow, but I was just trying to conserve energy for what was to come. Because I knew it was gonna get harder.
Yeah.
I knew that the next section was like Devil's Thumb, El Dorado Creek, and those are like the hardest kind of like sections, and it's in the middle of the course.
Right.
I knew I had like the 1/3 done, so I was like, okay, I'm almost there. But when you see the watch, I was like, oh, I only have a couple minutes to get to the cutoff.
Yeah.
And I started running faster, but I think I realized it way too late. And towards like going up to Robinson Flat, which is mile 30, you still have to run like 0.3.
Yeah.
So I heard the bells like around like 2 miles.
This guy's on a good one.
No worry. I heard the bells like 2 minutes beforehand. And I was just like, oh man.
And the bells represent that
the cutoff.
The cutoff.
Yeah, like that's it. Yeah. And they said that even if I would have gotten there like at the time I was supposed to get there, my crew, I wouldn't have been able to touch my crew, but I could have just switched my backpack by myself and left.
Okay.
But it was, even then when I was running the last couple minutes, I was, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. I kept believing still.
Yeah.
And then I was in the bottom of Robinson Flat, and then I saw my crew at the top, and like it was already past cutoff.
Yeah.
And I only had to like climb that 1 minute. And I was just like, well, might as well walk it, you know?
Yeah.
But it was crushing. But at the end, like, I felt good. My nutrition was good. I took, like, by the time I got to mile 30, I had taken already, like, 11 gels, 12 gels.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was just gels. I also had taken, like, food. I had taken, like, sandwiches, coconut water.
Wow.
I actually eat a lot during my races. Unlike most athletes, I really eat a lot. I get hungry a lot.
Including marathons?
Yeah, even marathons. Like, most people carry like 4 or 5 gels.
Yes.
And then I carry like around like 7, 8. Yeah.
Dang, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I tend to like take a gel every 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And that's just because I get hungry often.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
But yeah, I eat it a lot and I felt great. I was hydrated. The biggest worry for me was being dehydrated because for my training camp, for Western State training camp, I was dehydrated. And it cost me like the training to kind of cut off my training a little bit shorter for that day. But I felt great getting to mile 30. Something did happen at mile 24. I was excited to see my crew.
Yeah.
And I took a bad step.
Okay.
And I think that was also another thing I realized just like last like couple of days ago, because I went to my massage therapist, Raul, and he was like, "Oh, I think you popped something here," and it was like IT band was kind of like popped, and then my knee too.
Oh man.
And it was like when I was going down the hill, and it was like very down where you should have walked it. But at that point, I felt like I was an elite runner, and so I ran it.
That's awesome.
And then I heard like a little pop,
Yeah.
and it hurt. But I was just like, oh, I have my crew coming up. I don't care. And I just kept running on it. But then after that, I did start slowing down after mile 24 and a half. Yeah. Yeah, I think that also cost me the race.
Sure. That's okay. I mean, and then one thing, we talked about also is that you are a slow starter, but something happens to you after 40 miles. That's when you come alive. So, we don't know what could have happened, but you still kind of feel maybe you would have missed a cutoff somewhere down the line. But I think like the most important thing, like with races like this, especially ones where we're disappointed, is it just gives us more data to collect, right?
Yeah.
Because you are going to go back, right? I mean,
I want to go back.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to give me an entry back,
yeah.
no, I'm kidding. But yeah,
Hoka, are you listening?
everyone, any of the sponsors.
Yeah, anybody, yes. I mean, that's the goal, to get back.
Yeah.
Because now it's redemption, right? And hopefully, somebody gives you that opportunity. Let's hope you get back out there, because I know this one's you're gonna be on fire now,
Yeah, and I think that was part of it. Like I was talking with my crew, and the whole thing is I have always been close to cutoffs. For like my first 100 miler, I almost didn't make it for like maybe like 2 minutes before the cutoff, before like the last cutoff. And then for my second 100 miler, I think it was like by 30 minutes or like 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I have always been close to cutoffs, and I'm like, maybe this is what I needed to just kind of be like, like I'm done with being close to cutoffs.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't even, like I should be aiming for more.
Yeah.
And I think like obviously if I get the opportunity, I'm gonna train the hardest I can, and I won't even want to be like near the cutoff or even think about cutoffs, know? And I think that comes with like the fire that you have, because you want to improve.
Yeah.
You want to know that you have more to give. And I think that was the biggest thing. Like I wasn't able to kind of like show what I could potentially do. And maybe it wasn't meant for me. Maybe it wasn't my time, and that's okay. And maybe I'm meant to be like a stronger runner for the next time.
Yeah. I mean, all the Los Angeles running community, I told you this, everyone is just so impressed by you getting there and so happy for you, and nobody cares what happened out there, and the messages that you gave on Instagram, a day later, I can't remember exactly when, but the message of, you're going to get back. You could tell you were struggling, but I told you, like, that was so powerful, and somebody is going through their version of Western States, right? And I'm so glad and I'm so honored that you decided to share your story, and hopefully, somebody watching can understand that, sometimes life is disappointing, right? And races are disappointing, but, you are obviously going to go back, and you're going to, the hero of Los Angeles, right? Like I tell you, and you're going to come back, and, you're going to do it. So,
yeah, I think part of it was like, I think we talked about off cameras. I had never dealt with the DNF, never gone through it, and I had no idea how to navigate through it.
Sure.
I felt like a failure. I felt so many things. I went to a really dark place, and my mental health took a hit. And it was a point where I was just like, I felt like I didn't have a meaning. Like there was no point to life. And it was really bad, but I think that's part of it, You just gotta put one step at a time, take it day by day, and eventually you'll see the sun, because the sun will come out.
Yeah.
The sun will shine, and you'll think about it and see that, this was just one day out of your journey, and there's many more days to come.
I love it. I'm looking forward to you getting back up there. It's gonna be amazing.
Thank you.
So moving away from Western States,
Yay!
I mean, it's over. I mean, come on, world record, the youngest Latina to run 100 marathons. It's like spectacular, like a world record. Like you have it. I think you broke the record. She lived in the UK. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was doing it, I always talk about this. I think when I was doing it, I didn't realize what I was doing.
Yeah.
Because now I look at it and I'm like, oh man, I really have to train for a marathon. And when I was doing it, it was just marathon after marathon after marathon every week,
Yes.
every weekend. And it was more like a routine more
Yeah.
than anything. And I never really trained for a marathon because I was recovering from one every week.
Sure.
And then I was running one every weekend, recovering and then running it. So it was really like, I think when I look back now, I can't believe I did it. I think that's the biggest thing. I was like, I did that. Like when people talk to me, they're like, oh, I was like, I did that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I feel like as you get older, you're like, oh, you start to like, I'm not as strong as I was when I was young.
Right.
And you try to compare yourself to that version that was younger, faster. But at the same time, you got to realize that, you could get stronger. It's just give yourself
Absolutely.
time. But yeah, it was done. I don't know how though.
That's amazing. I heard you on a previous podcast, and you were talking about how you had done almost every marathon in California, right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And you would just like go to work and then start looking for races, and then you'd be like, oh, here's a race, and you'd sign up and go. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. The only thing I would have to make sure was that it was UTF certified.
Yes.
That was the biggest thing. And then that I could get there.
Yeah.
So, and I was still in school. Like I was still in college. And it was just like I was also working full time. I was a full-time student, a full-time runner. And then
God.
I worked full-time too. So it was
Yeah.
just like everything was full-time. And I don't even know how I did it because I would sleep so little. But I think it was also part of like being young. You have all of that energy.
Right.
So I kind of like use that energy and put it into something.
Yeah. And you traveled all across the country to do this. I mean, any particular races that were your favorite?
Yeah, the Los Angeles Marathon is my favorite.
Yeah. and actually, you ran the 100th there
Yeah.
at LA Marathon with Marathon Goddess, right? She was telling the story.
Yes, she was part of it. She was actually kind of like my mentor when I was running for it because she gave me the advice where I kept getting injured and I didn't know how to navigate through the injuries.
Yeah.
And she was like asking me, what are your finish times? And I was sending her the finish times and she was like, you're supposed to run like an hour slower.
Yeah.
And so I started putting that into practice, and then I was able to finish more races and do back-to-back races. But really, she was a mentor during my journey. She really was, and I'm so grateful for her. And yeah, one of my favorite races, the Los Angeles Marathon, because I finished there.
Yeah.
And another one would be Big Sur, San Francisco. And then another one would be, crazy enough, they're all in California, but I think there was this other one in Rhode Island. I really enjoyed it because of the sky, the scenery.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. It was in Narragansett.
Okay.
Narragansett Marathon. Yeah.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, speaking of San Francisco, you have a partnership with San Francisco Marathon, which is next Sunday, right? And you're running the marathon. You want to just go into that a little bit, how you forged that with them and, what your responsibilities are, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So they reached out to me maybe 2 months before the race, and they were basically looking for running creators to kind of give a reach to the race and for people who hadn't heard about San Francisco. So I partnered up with them, and I just started kind of sharing my training part of it. As much as I wanted to focus a lot saying, oh, I'm training for the San Francisco Marathon, it was also happening during Western States training. So I kept saying Western State training, but it was also San Francisco training.
Right.
So I think part of it was good because it's hilly. San Francisco's hilly.
Yeah.
I have ran it twice.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. One of my favorite races. It's so scenery. And I think the start of it starting really early. I think it starts around 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
and you're done early on, like around like 11,
Yeah.
12, you're done,
Yeah.
and you can enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, I really love that race too.
So you've done it?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. How was it for you?
I've only run the half.
Okay.
And my wife and I, we've gone and run the first half, the second half.
Okay.
So that is the full marathon, right? The first
Yeah.
half, second half. I love the first half because, you get to run over the bridge, of course, and Sausalito, the other side.
Yeah.
It's just such a spectacular race.
I love it because I feel like I have never seen a road race that makes you decide which half do you want to run, the
Right.
first or the second.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool because some people want to go for a PR, so you would run the second half.
Yes.
But if you're wanting to go for like the views, just the experience, you run the first half.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really, really nice how they give you the opportunity to choose.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, hopefully, moving forward, more races do that.
Yeah. So good luck
Yeah.
to you next week, right?
Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna take it as an easy run and just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, kind of like a mental, a mental thing where just like enjoying it. And yeah, we're gonna see how it's
Yeah.
gonna go.
And it's
I
gonna-
hope to finish this one. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I hope it's a special one.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, come on, let's
Yeah,
get this
right.
together. So yeah.
And the best part, it's just 26 miles, not 100 miles. So, it's going to be nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice. I definitely am looking forward to it. At some point I was like, should I like drop down and do the half? Because I felt like, oh, am I like jumping in too quick? But then I was just like, it's fine, like just
Ah,
take it in. And
You're the warrior. I mean, come on. Of course you can do it.
and it's a special one because it's like 123, so 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So I've been waiting for that one, and it's a special one.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like one of the ones where like I've been wanting to get to, like 1, 2, 3. I don't know why. It's just like 1, 2, 3. You know.
Sure, it means
Instead
a-
of saying 123, I'm just gonna say 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Yeah. It'd be a great
Yeah.
tattoo.
No.
1, 2, 3. I don't know if that's your thing.
I want to get a tattoo, but at the same time, I'm like,
Yeah.
it would be like probably 26, 22.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Going back to the world record, which I'm just so impressed with, and so is everyone else. I mean, how important was it for you? Is it for you that not only that you were the first woman, of course, a woman, but also Latina is so important, right? I mean, I've heard like conversations where you've said, we need more representation, and running brands are reaching out more to us.
Yeah.
And it's, we are being seen now. And, obviously, a lot of companies come to you for different, races to represent them. I mean, it's so important. And you, for a Latino woman, and I'm Latino, it means so much to our community, and you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think when it comes to like running, obviously running in Los Angeles, you see a lot of Latinos running. It's a big community.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when it comes to like you're looking at ads, you're looking at certain things before you would see where it was just like kind of like white women or like, white men being highlighted.
Yes.
You would never really see people of color being highlighted like in Runner's World.
Yep.
And throughout the years, it has improved, and it's all due to like people advocating and talking about it, starting the discussion about like being more inclusive. Because at the end of the day, we are here, we are running. It's just we're not being highlighted, and I think part of it is either the brands are still growing. That's one of the reasons, but I think it should be I think one of the things is like I love inclusivity.
Yes.
I love that everyone's included, Sometimes I do see like they're working towards inclusivity, but I also still see that Latinas women are missing,
Yeah.
in that picture or in that photo or in that photo shoot. They're still missing.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is just talking about it, so then brands are seeing that, we're here
Yeah.
and we're still going to continue running.
Absolutely.
And there's so many of us. I think it's just part of us for many of us. And I just hope from here, like, it grows and more people from our community starts running.
Absolutely.
I think that's the goal, being able to, like, even like when I go to like a training park and then I see like soccer practice, the parents are waiting. Now I see them running.
Yes.
And it's so incredible just to see that, because I
Yeah.
think at the end it's also helping like our community get healthier, fitter, and it's just gonna help everyone else,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I was also listening to that podcast, and the woman, the narrator, she was saying that that you hoped, I guess you had told her you were hoping that somebody would break your record,
Yeah.
you know, and she was just like, I don't understand that, but it's like if you're watching this and you're new and you're just being introduced to Jocelyn, that's what makes her amazing. Like, you hope somebody does it, and like, you don't want to hold on to this record.
Exactly.
Right?
I think that's part of my journey. Like, the whole point is to inspire someone to go after it.
Yeah.
Or like, not even inspire them to go after that, but go after a goal and reach the goal.
Yeah.
I think that was part of like my journey. Like, I wanted to, I mean, majority of my journey started as me being a DACA recipient and advocating for that. But halfway through, like Marathon 30, I was struggling because I felt like the purpose wasn't enough for me, and I needed another purpose too. And that's when it came to like, I want to inspire women and girls to know that they could reach this and that they could do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's my biggest thing. I would hope someone could go after it, because that just means like my work is done, you know?
Yeah.
I was able to inspire someone. But even if I get to inspire someone to just run, to get out there, run 1 mile, half a mile, at the end, you're still a runner. And I think that's like, I would want more people to experience what I experienced as a runner. And I think that's what brings me joy, knowing that they're going out there, getting their miles done, and then they get to enjoy that little high that they get from the run.
Yeah.
And you felt that high. I felt it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would love for people, especially girls, younger girls, to feel that, because that's really what got me into running, and I stuck with it.
Yeah.
I feel like I continue to chase that high because I really enjoy it, and I want more people to experience it.
Yeah, it's so amazing. I love that. Most people that break records like that, they want to hold on to that, you know, and you're just like, here, take it.
I feel
Come
like
on.
when it comes to records, I'm like, oh, it doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to humanity.
That's right.
It belongs to the world, you know?
That's right.
And at the end, we're just like pushing our limits to see like how far can we get, you know? So I would hope someone could come after, because I don't want any more.
Yeah.
No, but I'm like, come get it, because I'm like, it's not even like, you know, like the one I beat was like by a couple of days, I think.
Yeah,
because the pirate one was like 24 years, and like I think she was about to turn 25 by a couple of days.
I did see that too.
Yeah, and so I just beat her by I think like 2-3 weeks. I think
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, or maybe like 2 months. I don't know.
Something like that.
It was just like, it wasn't like,
it was close.
It was close. It wasn't like, oh, I did it by a year or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the youngest Latina one, that one I did before. It was actually Nadia who had it, and she did it at 28. So I broke that one by 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
Because it was 2 different people who held it.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. And then another thing, very big thing, is you're a DACA recipient. I mean, you're a dreamer, and you know, that's even adds more to your amazing story. You know, and you want to elaborate on that? And
yeah, I mean, for those who don't know what a DACA recipient is, or a dreamer, is basically someone who came young, at a very young age. They came here before 2012, and basically you came here as a kid. And you didn't come here legally, you came here illegally, and you basically have been living here for majority of your life. In my case, I came here at the age of like 6. I'm now 27, so you can say majority of my life has been here. I'm not an American, and there's no future that I have like where I could become a citizen. The only way would be marrying someone. But you know, for people who are young, there's so many people where, you know, you don't want to go that route. You want to be able to achieve things on your own. And, you know, that's the only path that we have currently. So currently that's where I'm at. And basically DACA, it's something that keeps getting like threatened every like couple months. They remove the program, they stop it. And so there's a high chance that, you know, if you lose your DACA, you'll lose your job. You went to school for, you'll lose all of that. If basically you have your business, you'll eventually, you know, lose it. if you're a doctor, you won't be able to practice. If you're a lawyer, you won't be able to practice. And there's so many people in the community that are DACA recipients. I think that's the biggest shock to me. Like, majority of my followers are dreamers.
Yeah.
And it's kind of shocking because I thought, oh, you know, I'm in LA, not too many. Like, I know it's going to be a percentage, but majority of them are like, oh, yeah, like I could relate to your story because I'm also a dreamer.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I realized, you know, like I am representing 4 dreamers.
Yeah. And it must be so important to you. I mean, right? It's
Yeah.
It's you're clearly sending a message in what you're doing, but to stand by, you know, as a DACA, as a dreamer, it's incredible. I mean,
Yeah, I think part of it is like, you know, you're not an American, but you feel like an American. Like, I love America. I want to be in this country.
Yeah.
And I feel like we provide so much. And part of it it's because we're dreamers, we don't get full access to those things. Even though, like, our Social Security, like, they take money from our paychecks, like, we're not going to have access to that money.
Right.
There's certain things that get basically taken from us, taxes and all of that, and we don't have access to that later on.
Yeah.
And I think we do provide a lot for the society, and it's just like a topic where, like, obviously a lot of people don't agree with it.
Yeah.
But also I think from like a polls I've seen, like it says like 83 Americans support DACA.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's something that they know that we came here at a young age. We were installed into school. We did
Yeah.
our school, you know, K to 12, then went to college.
Yeah.
And we truly believe in the American dream.
Yeah.
So it's just part of it, you know?
Sure. And there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, from people who don't understand that, you know, everyone's paying their taxes and Social Security, and you are an American, you know, and in my eyes, you've been here your whole life.
Basically,
You're
yeah.
American, you know, but
Not in papers, but yeah.
unfortunately, yeah, that it's that way, but you know, you are here, and you came with your mom, and your mom is here in Los Angeles still, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she is a big supporter of your running, right?
Not really. Let's be honest. She was probably like the biggest reason I started and
Right.
stuck with running, because she didn't want me to run.
Right.
But she had her reasons
Yeah.
for me not wanting to run.
She did.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Those reasons were the way I was born, basically. So I was born with the broken back, neck, and feet. And the doctors basically told her since I was like a baby, like she most likely won't be able to walk. And if she happens to, by a miracle, gets to walk, she'll be like, you know, like struggling.
Yeah.
And she'll never be able to, like, you know, stand on her own or be able to do activities.
Wow.
And from that point, my mom kind of like had that in her mind. And, you know, throughout the years, obviously I got better. She calls it that I'm a miracle child, because
Right.
I really did get better with physical therapy. Being from El Salvador, really, there aren't a lot of resources like, oh, we're going to have an operation.
Yes.
And we were like my mom grew up like in a very small town, and like to go to the doctors, you had to travel like hours.
Right.
And yeah, she would go and travel hours just for physical therapy.
Yeah.
And they would give her guidelines like, make sure you carry the child with the pillow. And then like she wouldn't she wouldn't carry me with the pillow. And they're like, she's not gonna get better if you don't do that.
Yeah.
And like she never really did it.
Yeah.
But eventually I somehow, from one like couple weeks, like after years of going through it, they're like, oh, she's getting better. Like, what are you doing? Like, she's getting better.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
But at the end, I eventually got better. And yeah, I still deal with like the pain. It's like kind of like a condition
Okay.
where like the pain still exists. But if you look at me, I look like a normal
Yes.
person, you
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
everything looks good.
Yeah, if you look at you just ran 122 marathons, right?
Yeah. No, but I think, that's the reason why my mom wasn't like as supportive in the beginning. But obviously with time, she became more supportive. And
Yeah.
she was the reason why I even like wanted to do my first marathon, because I just wanted to like prove her wrong.
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely, right?
You know, you're
the
a
Latino
teenage-
mom, like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you, right?
Basically, that's what happened.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. It's like your whole, you know, so far to date, your whole life has been an inspiration. All the marathons, but even from birth, you know, and the doctor is telling your mom she's never gonna be able to walk and do these things, and to go on to like current day, what you've done and accomplished, it's like it's an amazing story, you know. And I mean, where's the book? When does the book come out?
I was gonna write a book, but then I felt like, here's the thing, I kind of like stopped it, and it was because I felt like I wanted to do more.
Yeah.
One of my goals was always to run a 100 miler, so that was actually the reason why I stopped it, because I wanted to like add that into the journey.
Sure. Yeah.
And then now I'm like, well, I want to finish Western State first.
Yeah. I mean, it's never going to end.
I
Then
feel
it's
like-
going to be
yeah.
Badwater next, and what else? UTMB, right?
I feel like once you get like a certain like you're working towards something and you continue to work towards it, you achieve it, you're there, and you're like, I still want to do more. I still want to, and I think it's part
Yes.
of any runner too. Like they experience that where like they get their PR and they want to improve.
Yeah.
So you have like that growth that you just want to continue improving,
Yeah.
or just continue like growing. You know?
Yeah. It's like when you get to the top of the mountain, keep looking up because there's another mountain, right? And then another one. And that's how we grow, right? I
Yeah.
mean, but your story is remarkable from birth to now. I mean, but I would imagine that your mom, current day, is, you know, she's must be proud of you and impressed with everything you've accomplished, you know, from what they told you
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, she was very supportive at my 100.
Yeah.
She was there, so that really meant a lot to me. And then for when it came to like ultra running, it was like the same cycle again, trying
Yeah.
to convince her like, this is okay, like this is what I want to do
Yeah.
moving forward. But now like after like Western States, I feel like she's like, you know, I gotta support her,
Oh, good.
especially because of what I went through. Like,
Yeah.
and I think now I feel like more support from her when it comes to ultra running.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, leading into that, you started running, you know, to prove her wrong with Students Run LA, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's the program here in Los Angeles that trains students. Is it junior high to high school?
It's
right?
actually from middle school. They could
Middle
start
school.
all the way from 6th grade all the way to 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you started
And I started at 11th grade.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And you were part of the Students Run LA program here in Los Angeles. They train you for the LA Marathon during the school year. They have several organized races. I think Nike sponsors them, gives them shoes, and it's a really great program. And I guess the point is to help students understand that if they can accomplish running a marathon, then they can accomplish anything in life. And that's how your journey started here, right? So your first marathon was the LA Marathon, right?
Yeah, my first marathon was the 2014 marathon. Crazy enough, I actually went to the 2013 marathon back in March, and
Yeah.
it was in Patrick State that year.
Yeah.
And I was a mile 20, and that's when I decided to like go for a marathon. People of all ages were running, kids from SRLA were running.
Yes.
And I just felt inspired at that time. You could see them struggling. You could see everyone. It's mile 20.
Yeah.
It's getting real.
Yeah.
It's getting painful.
Yeah.
And that was a moment where I got inspired by them. And someone asked me, how come you're not out there? And that stuck with me. I'm like, why is it that I'm not out there? And it was all because of what I grew up believing, that I was limited. I really thought I was limited, especially the way I was born. My mom really never like allowed me to like do sports because of that. And when we would go to doctors, they're like, oh yeah, make sure like she doesn't do too much activities. And they would even have a slip so I wouldn't do PE, but I would still do PE because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And that was part of it. It was just like, I thought I was limited. At that time, I was 15 and I thought I was limited.
Sure.
And little did I know,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, look at you now. I mean, yeah. Just the self-belief. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And did your, I don't believe your parents ran or your mom ran, but somebody in your family, you know, what you've done is definitely genetics, right? Would you say? It is hard work, of course, but a lot of it's genetics to go out and do that. I mean,
No one from my family runs.
yeah.
But when it comes to like the history, I feel like the way that they grew up, being
Yeah.
able to be from El Salvador and like be near the mountains, they had to do a lot of work, and they had to like travel to get to school,
Yeah.
travel, and not just out like my parents, but like their parents and their grandparents. Eventually, like it's like I believe it's part of like being indigenous too. Like your
Yes.
roots, you do have some ties to like the mountains.
Yeah.
And you're like exposed to nature.
Yeah.
Like majority of the towns where like my grandparents grew up, it was just like in the middle of nowhere, like in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elevation?
And they would cross rivers.
Yeah.
They would cross roads. Well, there wasn't any roads, but they would
Yeah.
go ahead and basically
Yeah.
go through that.
They were basically trail running. Yeah, in a sense.
It said
Yeah.
they were trail walking.
Trail
but yeah.
walking. But was it elevation up there?
I'm not sure. I have to look that
That'd
up.
be interesting to find out.
I'm gonna look it up and then
Yeah.
I'll send you the info.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked into that.
No.
Yeah, I think in Salvador, like the area where they grew up, there must have been some sort of because they mentioned that they had to go through the mountains and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I never thought of that, but that's interesting. You know, my parents both ran marathons, so I grew
Oh,
up in this sport
wow.
watching them run. But
That's
you know,
amazing.
I
I'm
asked-
so jealous of you.
Yeah, born into this sport. I always tell people I had no choice. Here I am, right? And my
They
wife,
force you.
my wife as well. Her parents were both marathon runners as well, so we were both born into the sport. But
That's amazing.
yeah, I was talking to my grandfather when he was still alive and asked him. You know, I wanted to know if he ran because I think I'm genetically gifted like yourself. I ran one time a marathon every weekend for 3 weekends. I probably could have kept going. That's how great I felt. And I asked him, "Did you ever run?" And he's like, "No, I he was working. He grew up in central. He grew up here in Los Angeles, but he would spend time in Central California." In the fields, picking cotton, right? And he said that one time he missed the train to get to Los Angeles, and he had just missed it by a little bit. And the lady told him the next stop is about 13 miles away, and he's like, "Well, I think I could run there," and he ran 13 miles to the next stop.
That's incredible.
Right, and that's exactly like what you're
Yeah.
saying. Like, yeah, our ancestors didn't run per se, but they
Yeah.
were working in different conditions that allowed probably you to be gifted with this gift. You know, it's
Yeah.
remarkable. Like, I'm sure even now as you run, you're paying tribute to your ancestors. Very much, I feel this. I'm doing that. You know.
Yeah, like when I'm in the mountains, I feel that connection with my ancestors. I feel like I'm getting closer to them for some
Yeah.
reason, either because I'm dying out there or something. But
Yeah.
I also feel like a really strong connection with just my ancestors running, like, in the mountains. It just feels like you're disconnected from the city, especially living in Los Angeles.
Sure.
It's loud, it's always noisy. And
Yeah.
when you're in the trails, it just feels quiet and you just feel like you're connecting with nature,
Yeah.
but also with your ancestors. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you are kind of like replicating what they were doing, which was,
Yeah.
traveling through the mountains or just traveling through a lot of land that wasn't built yet.
Yeah, I think we talked about you moving to the mountains. It sounds like you're headed there. So
It's
Yeah.
crazy enough, isn't it? Like how life takes you. And all along, I always, like, for my first 100 miler, I always wanted to do a 100 miler, and my first one was road. And the whole reason was because I was like, I knew I'm a good road runner.
right.
And then as you start running more races, you're like, even though I'm good in road, I want to go into trails because I suck at trails. I want to keep growing in that aspect.
Right.
And then you remember also that your grandparents grew up going through, like, those lands, and you're just like, it's crazy how like life takes you back to where you came from, or like
Yeah.
how the cycle
Yeah.
goes on.
It's amazing.
Like a lot of people, even like when they go out to vacations, when they go out somewhere, they're traveling to, like, national parks. They're going to hikes. They're going out and being in nature.
Yeah, that's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah. So through all of this that you've done, right? We're talking 100-mile, races and marathons, and how you train. You are plant-based, right? Which is amazing. And this is just, you've always been like plant-based, or did it just click one day, or?
So I went to watch a movie.
Oh, this is where it started.
Don't go to the movie theaters, guys. Literally, I went to watch Game Changer, which
Okay.
was basically a movie based on like athletes who went vegan.
I watched it. Yes.
And it was just so much science to it, and I was like, that's like incredible. Everything like I learned about it, even like making like one meal that was plant-based, it would make such a big difference like
Yeah.
in their tests. And I was just like, okay, I'll do it. I'll attempt it. Next day I was eating chicken still.
Yeah,
And I was like, okay, maybe I won't do it today. I'll start tomorrow.
Yeah.
But lucky enough for me, I had my best friend who was also gonna do it.
Yeah.
She does weights instead, like weight training, and like that's her thing. And mine is like running.
Mhm.
I started doing it, and 1 year went, 2 years went in, and my goal was just to be vegan until I finished my 100.
Yeah.
Because I also tested it for like 3 months before going vegan. I did like a test run, and during that time I got PRs. I felt good. I felt energized, and I was just getting faster, better, you know.
Yeah.
And eventually I was just like, oh, I want to continue that. And I'm like, I'll just be vegan until I get to 100 marathons, and then after that I'll go back.
Yeah.
And then once I got to 100, I was like, I felt like it was a part of me, and I just felt like I couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of like representing that community now.
Right.
Even
right.
it's all about representing, you know.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, okay, like let me continue eating vegan and see how long I could do it. Another year went on, then another one, and then in September, I think September, October, I'll be celebrating my 5 years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
And it's just changed your life. I mean.
Yeah, I think after 5 years I'll decide, but
You're gonna lose followers.
I feel like we'll see. No, I think I really wanna. I think part of it, like I realized how much it changed my life, and it
Yeah.
made me like conscious of what I eat, and it actually like it's not as hard, but that's because I live in LA.
Right.
If I was to move out of LA, oh yeah, it
Yeah.
would be a hard journey.
Sure. I'm kind of curious, like, who do you look up to? Like, I think hella good. We kind of went over that a little
Yeah.
bit. Sally McRae,
Yeah.
Courtney Daltwater, maybe.
Yeah, I look up to everyone
Yeah.
who's amazing. I feel like that's actually the reason why I do all of these challenges, because I get inspired by people.
Yeah.
Often, not even like they don't even need to be an elite or any of that. It's just people from my community.
Yeah.
One of them, her name is Liz, and I met her like years ago. I was in high school,
Yeah.
and I had no clue that you could run marathon after marathon. I thought you could only do 1 or 2 marathons in a year.
Yeah.
And she was constantly running a marathon, like at least once every month or once every 2 months. I mean, once every 2 weeks. And she was literally the person that kind of like opened that portal. And she's not, an elite runner. She's not famous. She's just someone from the community.
Right.
At that time, she was living in around like Los Feliz, and I met her through like a training run. Back then, it was called a runner circle.
Oh, yes.
The shop.
Is it there anymore?
No, it's not
gone,
there.
right?
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
But that's how I met her, and her husband Daniel Guzman. I stayed connected with them, and they kept running marathons after marathons, and that's when my mind opened up. I was like, oh wow, I can run more than 2 marathons in
Yeah.
a year, and I went after that. And again, it's like not just people who are elites. It's real people in the community that inspire
Yeah.
me. Like,
Everyday people.
everyday
Yeah.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we're
you
co-
inspire me too.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
both of us. Gee.
Your wife, she's a Boston marathoner. What?
Yeah. Right.
I'm telling you, at the end, it's like everyone who's like anyone in the community can
Of
inspire
course.
me.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it where I really follow people. I want to follow their journeys.
Yeah.
And little by little, I get inspired by them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. Of course, I've got, the people I look up to that, are well known, but
Yeah.
every day, I told you this morning, I went to a big thing and there's so many inspiring people there, But I
Exactly.
love that you get inspired by just about anybody.
Yeah,
So,
basically.
yeah. And speaking of Boston, you have run Boston twice, 3 times, couple.
I think 2 times.
2 times.
I forgot.
Yeah, you were there last year. We kind of missed each other, but
Yeah.
you
It was it's my 3rd time. Yeah, it was my 3rd time.
Boston. You won amazing race. You liked that race.
Yeah, so I actually got invited to Boston the first year, I got invited by the race
Yeah.
itself, and it was because they were celebrating the women's history, 50
yes.
years of,
Yes, that's
you
right.
know, being able to have women in the course. And I was able to like meet Catherine Swisher.
Yes.
I was able to meet so many amazing athletes. Verna Volker too. I was
Yeah.
able to meet her. She's basically a native runner, and like she represents a native woman community. It was really amazing to be there, and it felt magical. It felt like the best race of my life.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to do that race and again. And I'm like, oh man, I gotta qualify to come back.
Right.
And then later on, it just happened that I made a post about Martin.
Yes.
I had never tried Martin in my life. Martin the gel.
Yeah.
Never in my life. But I kind of mentioned them in my post, how like I took it during the course. I really did. I knew it was a good brand.
Right.
And I had never had them. And you know how you're not supposed to try new things
Yes.
on race day?
You broke the golden rule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? Like, this is good gels. I know, like, good, like, elites take it. I'm just going to take it.
Yeah.
And it worked for me. And I mentioned them in the post, and they reached out, and they're like, hey, would you like to be part of our ambassador program? And I was like, yeah, I'll be down. You
Amazing.
know?
Yeah.
And at the end, like, we just continue that partnership, and they're, like, sponsors of the race. So
Yes.
that's how I get
Yeah.
connected. But, yeah, we'll see if I come back next year.
Yeah, we'll see you there in April.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We will see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ran any other world major marathons? New York, Chicago.
Chicago and New York. Yeah.
And what would you say the comparison between Boston, Chicago, and New York? Because they're top tier races, right? And I mean, New York is just bonkers, right? And
I feel like I love New York, but the year I ran it was a bad year.
was it the
Beca-
heat?
It was a year that
Yeah.
it was humid and
Yeah.
hot, and I felt like I wasn't going to be able to finish.
Right.
Everyone did poorly on that race.
Yeah.
I flew with like a group of runners, and everyone did poorly.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, you know, they're like strong athletes, and they were running like my finish times. Like I'm on like a 4:30, sometimes I'm like a 4-hour marathon.
Yeah.
Very like, and sometimes I get like a 3-something, 3:30-ish.
Yeah.
But they were really like struggling. And I was just like, okay, it wasn't just me. The race was really tough. It was really humid.
Yeah.
And I think part of it was also we were misinformed. They told us that LA is harder than New York. And I was like, that is not true.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
learned the hard way.
Yeah. 6 bridges. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, if you've done LA, this is like easy.
Nah.
And like we all went with that mentality. Just imagine you told that to a group and everyone has that mentality.
Oh my God.
Things are gonna go wrong because you're expecting it to be like, oh, okay, if I done LA, I could do this.
No, it's
It
a
was
different
hard.
game. Yeah.
But when it comes to like the crowd, I would actually prefer the Boston crowds.
Okay.
I feel like they were wild, but at the same time, I felt like it's also the meaning of Boston
Sure.
and what it means. And New York, it's loud, it's beautiful, but it's also hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Harder than Boston.
It is.
And then I think I love Chicago because it's like the middleman. It's like, oh, I got everything. I got the cheers and I got the good course.
Yeah.
And
Flat. Yeah.
and obviously it's like one of those where like you see a lot of like elites racing it.
Yeah.
And so you have a high chance of like running into someone that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Like for Chicago, I ran into I don't know if you know him. He's like a Spanish singer. Elvis.
I was Crespo.
Yeah,
Crespo. Yeah.
Crespo.
That's Suavemente. Yeah.
I was running like suavemente, besame. So I started like singing that, and then it's so crazy because the song I was listening was actually from him.
That's crazy.
And then I turned to the side and I see someone struggling. I was like, this looks like him. I was like, there's no way. And then I go in front of him. I was like, I wasn't going for a PR, so I was just taking it as a good race, easy race. And then I turned around and I was like, it is him. And then I was like, should I say hi or not?
Yeah.
And then I just take out my phone and I'm like, let me start recording just in case it is him.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you Elvis? Elvis? And then like in Spanish.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he was like kind of like ignoring me.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to like kind of like,
Of course.
you know, be low key. And
Yeah.
I was just like, are you Elvis? And like after like a minute and a half of me saying it, he's like, yeah, it's me.
Oh my God.
And then we took a quick video and a
Yeah.
photo. And it was so cool.
Yeah, he's
so
got
cool.
a distinct look. So I mean, he was
Yeah.
trying to fly under the radar. He can't. I mean,
He
yeah.
had like some sunglasses. So I think that's what also where I
Ah.
was just like, is it really him?
Yeah.
And obviously, like, you see them on TV and they look totally different, you know?
Yeah, of
But
course.
I was like, I could
Yeah.
identify. I'm like, it's him.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And
And-
how odd you're listening at that moment.
Yeah,
like-
it was like maybe like a minute before though. I
Yeah,
had
but
listened.
still,
Yeah,
like-
you had it in you. And I was like, just rewind to my music so I
Yeah.
could hear the song prior.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Chicago, right? I think like after Chinatown, you go, or before Chinatown, you go into Pilsen, which is the Mexican American, community. And
Yeah.
they must have recognized him there.
I'm pretty sure.
Because it gets crazy in Pilsen.
And like he does
Chicago.
post that he's a marathoner, and I was kind of shocked when I found out he was a marathoner. I was
Yeah.
like, what? That is so cool.
That's so cool.
It's so cool. It was really amazing. I feel like it was really magical, and yeah. Again, I feel like every race has their own magic.
Yeah.
You could literally gain something from that experience or from that race where you're like, it stays with you.
Yeah, of
Like when I
course.
look at my medals like up the wall, I'm like, oh, like I don't really look at the medals. Be like, oh, this is what
Yeah.
I actually like remember, like the experiences, the people who I saw, what I experienced. It's just really, really, really beautiful.
That's what they represent, right?
Yeah, basically.
Never the time.
Yeah.
Just what that day was like. Yeah.
You know, now that you bring up times, it's crazy. But when I was going for like the record, I actually was running with a lot of people who were like in the older age group. I was
Yeah.
flying to Florida and they were like 70, 80-year-old.
Yeah.
And one of them was like a world record holder for like the most marathons in the world. He had the most marathons,
That's
which was
amazing.
over like 3,000 marathons.
What?
And he's from Texas. I forgot his name. It's very popular, but I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
But he basically gave me an advice, and he was like, when you're older, you're not going to remember your times.
No.
The only thing you're going to remember are the good times.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're just going to remember the experiences and how it made you feel. But the times, you're not going to remember them. He's like, if you ask me about my PR, I have to look it down in a paper.
Yes.
But if you ask me about which was my favorite race, I'll tell you which one it was.
Easy.
Yeah. And I think that stayed with me, where I was just like, part of what I do with running is like, I try to enjoy it. I try to like challenge myself, but I also try to just, it's a gift. And I feel like it's something that we shouldn't take lightly, because when we're injured, we really, really miss it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? It's the end of the world.
There's no purpose after
Right?
we can't run.
No purpose in life. I love that.
Who am I?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
No, it's so true. We have all our medals up in our house, and yeah, I
Who
couldn't.
has more medals, you or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you what any of those times were
Yeah.
at all, and the exact times, but I could tell you all about that day.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
how amazing it was. Yeah. So going back to the majors, any interest in doing the other ones, or
Since I'm DACA,
they will not let you travel?
I actually can't
Yeah.
travel to the other three. So
Yeah.
when I actually got to Chicago and I did my third one, I said, oh, I accomplished my mini,
Yeah.
world major
Yeah.
marathon.
Yeah.
And yeah, I simply can't travel there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just about waiting and seeing if in the near future. But
Yeah.
I think part of it is also like, I think it was recently one of the marathon, like she broke like the record, the American record, or she held the American record for the marathon.
Okay.
I'm forgetting her name. She's like a Nike athlete. She's
Yeah.
already like, I think 60 or 70.
Yeah.
And she just finished her like 6 stars journey.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I forgot her name, but she had the American, like the fastest time for the
Yeah.
American record.
Wow.
Yeah, for a woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't remember her name, but it's crazy how like years later, like she went ahead and
Yeah.
completed it.
Yeah.
That's gonna be me. I'm gonna be like
Yeah.
70. I'll be like, I finally got here, guys.
Yeah.
This is me.
I did it.
At
Yeah.
Tokyo, like years later, I'm 70.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
I have a friend, going off the subject here. He's a filmmaker. He's DACA too.
Mm-hmm.
He traveled to Paris through. He got approval from the government. So it is possible. I
Oh,
want
wow.
you to know that. So
Yeah.
let's keep those doors open.
Yeah,
and those
I know
possibilities.
Luis. He's also like a Hoka athlete.
Yeah.
And for Luis, he was basically like he had to ask for permission to leave for the Olympics. But I know it has to be for very important.
Sure.
And if for some reason it's like job related, you could bypass it.
Right.
But it's really, really, really hard. And there's a risk that when you come back, they might not let you
Right.
in. So I know you could get out, but at the same time, it's like, is it really like the risk worth it?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
know.
like, I don't think it is,
Yeah.
but eventually, maybe one day.
Things will
Yeah,
change.
one day.
Yeah, things will change.
One day.
Absolutely. I always want to know, where did the warrior come from?
So the Warrior came from, you mentioned Students 1LA. Part of the program comes with mentors. And so mentors help you. They volunteer their
Right.
time. And they're not runners. They're just also learning to run with you. And one of my coaches, his name is Mohammed. And towards the end of like Students 1LA, we have a ceremony. And in the ceremony, they give a certificate to every single student, and they kind of like name them for what they represent or like what they did good during the training. And during mine was like the first year, God was like, oh, it's like a walk in the park for you running. I was like, it's not a walk in the park.
No, yeah.
And then the second year, I got awarded the Warrior Award.
Ah.
And I was like, I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
And that same night, I got back home, I got my award, which was a certificate. And then I renamed my Instagram to Jocelyn the Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the sound to it. I was like, oh, I'm a warrior. He told me I was a warrior. And I believed him. And I think that's the thing. I believe what he said, everything he said about me. And so I really identify with being a warrior. And obviously years went by. I continued running. And I never changed it. And so it just became my nickname at that point.
I love it.
Yeah.
I always wanted to know where
Yeah,
that came
it was
from.
naturally. It was a
Yeah.
coach that gave me that name
Yeah.
without even thinking what was going to be behind it, you know?
Sure.
So if he would have named me something else like Jocelyn, I don't know, something else.
Right.
I would have become something else eventually.
Yeah, but here you are.
Yeah,
It's
the warrior.
amazing.
And I really think I like it now. I'm just like,
Yeah, it's you.
yeah, like I think he found out a little bit about my story too. So that's the reason why he called me the warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I call you our hero of Los Angeles because you are the hero
That's
of Los
you.
Angeles.
That's the title he has. Everyone's like, oh, who's Rizzo? Oh, no, everyone knows who he is. No one would even question it.
You're right.
And I also heard you're like an ambassador now.
Yes, I mean we we're not supposed to announce it till
Oh.
September, but
I'm sorry, Lucy.
Lucy.
Whoa, Lucy. She knows. I'm gonna expose things out. Not
Oh,
kidding. No,
yeah.
no, I'm the leak. I'm the one who leaks information.
Ye-
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, it's funny because
Who else? I should say everyone's name. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, right. Go over the list right now.
Cut this part.
Yeah.
Guys, don't listen. I'm just nonsense.
Yeah, Lucy, do you want the warrior to leave the ambassador program now? Because she leaked all the info.
No.
You know, it's funny. I had Lucy here and Coach David Levine, the coach for the Roadrunners. And Coach, at the time, they hadn't announced that Encino was going to be the third LA Roadrunner program. He's talking on camera, and she's like, "Thanks, David, for spilling all the beans here." So I think this is the show where beans are spilled.
And I honestly think it's great because at the end of the day, what you're doing behind this, the whole cost of the podcast is just to get funds to get more
Yes.
people to run the race.
Yes.
And I think it's really great because I think living in Los Angeles, everything's high. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people struggle paying for the fee. They want to run the race, but they can't pay for the fee.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Have you recognized that need? And you obviously have,
Yeah,
right?
definitely,
Yeah.
100%. Because people reach out to me, they're like, "Hey, can I use your discount code?" Not necessarily because of something like, oh, like they're trying to get like a promo, like it's because they really need it. They really need
Right.
it. And when I tell them, "Hey, like it's not out yet. It's better for you to register now."
Now it's cheaper.
Because
now.
it's cheaper, because
Yeah.
it's gonna go up, and they do it because at the end of the day, like they know it's just gonna go up.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But you're doing something amazing. I mean, you're changing. Like, someone's gonna, I don't know who it's gonna go to, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna go to someone who, needs it.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I was inspired last year after the race, after the last LA marathon, running with the club, and this kid was supposed to run, and he was convinced he was going to go, and he's like a sub 3 hour marathoner, just gifted. And I saw him the following week. I said, "So how'd it go? Did you break it?" And he was just so disappointed because he's just, I didn't do it. And I knew because he couldn't afford it, and it made me upset, and I thought we have to do something about this. So that's my mission. So, I would like to extend this to you, Jocelyn, that if you know somebody who may need assistance, because someone is going to reach out to you, send them my way. I would like you to nominate one runner. And as, more donations come in, I will offer you more. But today, I'd like you to keep it in mind to nominate one runner that send them my way, and we'll get them signed up. So please keep that in mind.
No, thank you. Yeah. I think it's crazy, but when it comes to like even just being part of Students Run LA, I know what it is because I was there once. I didn't have the money to register for the marathon.
Sure.
The only reason why was because of programs like Students Run LA.
Yeah.
And I think, hopefully your program includes everyone, not just kids.
Yes.
And I think part of it, it's really good because even Students Run LA has a limit of how many bibs they can give out to the runners in each school.
Right.
So like my school only had 30 bibs for the marathon.
Yeah.
And there was 35 runners. So those 5 runners, you're probably wondering what happened to those 5 runners. We basically fundraised to kind of like cover their feet, but they didn't get any shoes, they didn't get any uniform, they didn't get anything like that when it came down to it.
Yeah.
Because as much as Students Run LA tries to help everyone, they also have only so much that they can give every year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's we're hoping that it is only July. And we're hoping that we have a lot of time. We have
you guys
6
are gonna
months.
be rich. You guys are gonna be rich in donations.
Yeah, definitely. And a shoe company in the UK reached out to me. They verbally committed to donating money. So this is just the beginning.
Let me reach out to Hoka.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll reach out to Hoka.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have, as I did mention at the beginning, a website, RizzoRunClub.com, and on the website are donations you can make from $5 to $1,000. The first day I launched it, people were already donating money.
Wow.
So, like I said, this is only July. As, the momentum towards the race builds, obviously people are going to get more involved. And I'm hoping, people like Hoka, Martin might want to get involved and help us fulfill this mission. Because we're going to get to LA Marathon in a second here. But, that's the most important thing, I'm just inspired by our community, like you said, we're inspired by our community.
And it's something that you're also just opening doors for people. Maybe I'm not sure who's gonna get it, but I think one of the things is that you're offering to someone who maybe might have never thought of doing a marathon. Like right now, training hasn't started. They might see your video and they're like, oh, now I have a way to get into the race.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and start training for a marathon. And at the end, you're changing someone's life. Because we know when you become a marathoner, your life changes.
That's it. It's over. And the beautiful thing is that maybe there's a little girl watching this who's going to be the next Jocelyn. And she had no clue she had this gift.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the beauty of the running community.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of running. Right? That's why we both, the three of us, we all run. So I want to talk a little bit about the LA running community. Do you run with any clubs here? Do you try and get out? I kind of think you don't, only because you're always running marathons, but do you?
So when it's crazy enough, but that's the reason why I couldn't run with run clubs in the beginning, because it was just like every weekend, what are they doing? They're training or like practicing. And where was I? Outside of LA.
Yeah.
So I really never got a chance to like train with them like when I was going for the record. Once I finished the record, I actually started training with like Blacklist.
Yeah.
And then they train in Griffith Park, and that's where I basically would train before too, like when I was in Students Run LA. But then there's an issue with me. I do not wake up early, so I'm not a morning runner. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like everyone would meet up at 7 in the morning. I'll be showing up like around like 12, 11 in the morning, 10 in the morning. I'm like, hey guys, I'm here. 2 hours later.
I love
Or sometimes I would see them and they're already done with the run and I'm barely getting started.
Yeah.
And so I think that's my biggest issue. It's just like I'm not really a morning runner.
Yeah.
And for the afternoon ones, sometimes I'm just like, oh, I'm so beat from work.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And sometimes I even thought of like creating a run club. But I also think like at the end of the day, like you got to make sure that you're always available that day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
That's
sometimes
hard.
I'm not in LA and I'm not who's going to take over.
Yeah.
Obviously someone from the community could take
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
But it's just like I don't have like certainty that, oh, you know what, Wednesday I won't be, like I'll be here every single time. Like I
Yeah.
can't guarantee it.
Sure.
Yeah. But at the same time, I like to join. I ran with Korea Run Club too, Thursdays. And then I also ran with, who was the other one? Oh, Bessie's Run Club.
Okay.
So Bessie's Run Club was one of the ones where like I would go constantly a lot. Obviously because they're vegan. They would give you ice cream after the run.
That's cool.
And you actually ran a very hilly course. So you know that you're putting in the work on that day.
Yeah.
And eventually it grew. I haven't gone back where, but I seen it that it has grown.
Yeah.
And it started like during COVID. So like during 2020. And it just grew from there.
Yeah. That's a great incentive. Run
Yeah.
and just think about ice cream. Right?
Literally.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because their icing like changes every week. So sometimes it's like, oh, you're getting chocolate. Oh, next week you're getting some other flavor.
Amazing. Yeah.
It's really, really cool, I
Yeah.
think. I wish I could run with more run clubs, but I think sometimes it's just my schedule
Yeah.
when it comes to it. And I think I did this where like I would go and I would run a couple miles, and sometimes I feel like I would run more when I was on my own. And so it varies. I wish I could run. Well, actually, you know what? Let me say this. This upcoming year or like this coming training season, I am going to be training with LA Road Runners. So that's my goal.
Santa Monica?
Santa Monica,
Yes, that's
yeah.
where I run too, so it's going to
Yeah.
be amazing.
Yeah, so I am planning. And the reason why was I went last year to like one of the last runs. It started in Dodger Stadium, and then we ran the first 6 miles.
Yes.
And I loved it.
It was great, right?
It was raining that day.
Yeah.
But I really, really, really loved it.
It was a great day.
It felt like a mini race.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I've been missing out.
Yeah, you have. You have.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are now in both LA Marathon ambassadors. Sorry, Lucy, it was her fault. I'm gonna.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to be like making videos trying to get the LA running community excited for. The start of the LA road running program, but now that you're going to be joining, that's on now. I'm going to be like, come join, and with the honorable Jocelyn Rivas, the warrior. It's
That's if I wake up, guys.
Yeah,
Remember that. That's if I
exactly.
wake up on time. But if anything else, I'll see you somewhere in there.
Yeah.
In case I wake up late.
That's okay. I mean, LA Marathon, this past LA Marathon,
Yeah.
I think I was turning the corner, like I was at 23, and then you were on this side. I heard you yell at me. So it's probably because you were late to the race, right?
No, it's crazy, but I have been late to the LA Marathon.
Yeah.
I do not recommend it. I do not. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
So do not recommend.
But I mean, your time doesn't start to cross the map,
Yeah.
and it was still stressful, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So let's talk about LA Marathon. We're going to get to a couple of things, but the last time we were at LA Marathon, you and I were at the expo, and I put you on camera, and you said something that's always stuck with me from that day. And you said, one is, I'm ready for the pain. I love that,
Yeah.
right? But two is, you feel like the LA Marathon is the only race in Los Angeles that truly unites the city. And I was just like, it's amazing.
It's true. It really is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's that one day or that one weekend where like everyone comes together to celebrate what it is to run our city.
Yeah.
And you get to run like throughout the hours. Honestly, like you're running through every section that many people come,
Yeah.
tourists come to take a photo.
Yeah.
And at the end, it just feels magical running through your hometown.
Yeah.
And also knowing how many faces you're going to see that are familiar cheering for you.
Yes.
And at the end, you have like run club after run club after run club right next to each other.
Yeah.
So they're like cheering, like you have 2 different run clubs cheering right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I think, finishing in Century City, I know many people might not like it, but I think it actually kind of like puts them all together more than it was before, you know?
Yeah.
It brings them all into one space, or
Yeah.
like the last couple miles they
Sure.
all tend to go to.
Yeah.
And it's like really, really magical
Yeah.
just to see so many familiar faces.
It is. This past LA Marathon, I mean, you definitely saw the difference, right?
Yeah.
In the support on the course. It was just bonkers, right? It was truly amazing.
It was amazing because I feel like it went back to how it was like 2020.
Yeah.
It really felt like, I mean, I don't know if you see the results, but I see the results of how many people start and finish. And I always seen it like in 2021, there was roughly only like 10,000 people running it. It was
Yeah.
the one year that it was in November.
Yeah.
Only like around like 15,000 people ran it.
Yeah.
The following year, it went up again. And then as time went on, it just went up and up.
Yeah.
And now I think it reached like 24,000, 25,
Yeah.
26,000.
Sold out for sure.
And it was amazing because I felt like it was back again to how it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just took a little convincing
Sure.
to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was really magical.
Yeah, you know, you bring up the chorus, and you know, I was telling Lucy here when she was here, and Coach David was that, yeah, you know, people are mad about Stadium to the Sea, but you know, at the end of the day, this is our city, right?
Yeah.
This is Los Angeles, and we have to embrace it. And Miguel Peralta was here as
Mm-hmm.
well, and he says, you know, if you're an LA native, this is the race you run because this is our race, you know.
It is. It really is. And
Yeah.
even people outside of LA come, you know. You
Yeah.
have Azusa coming up, Pasadena, areas nearby.
Yeah.
And even people traveling outside of Los Angeles to
Yes.
run the race.
Yeah.
And part of it is just like they also want to experience that. Even though like they might not be part of a run club, you get to experience that, all the cheering.
Yeah.
And I feel like little by little, it'll just continue growing, and you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe one year it'll become a major marathon.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping, right? I mean, that would be amazing. That's the goal,
Yeah.
right?
Then we won't be able to have access to the race.
Yeah.
And then be like, oh, we don't want you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? We're
Exactly.
so famous now. Yeah.
Right, right. You're famous.
No, the race itself.
Oh, yeah.
The race itself.
No.
Will become so famous that we wouldn't be able to get an entry.
Serious, right?
Lottery.
Lottery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I hope they do. You know, I think for us to get to that point, I think like, you know, like when we run New York, we run Boston, those communities, the spectators, the city truly embraces the race. And I think here in Los Angeles, it's more of a lackadaisical, you know, effort, and we need more of the community to come out, and I hope that we can eventually get there.
And I agree, because I think when it comes to it, like run clubs come out, that's people who run, people
Yeah.
who are familiar with running,
Yeah.
but you don't get to see all other community. Maybe you get to see the parents of runners. That's
Yeah.
when you see more like community coming out, but it's not like Chicago or the
Yeah.
other ones where you see just anyone cheering for it.
Yeah.
They're cheering because they're cheering for someone, you know?
Sure, sure.
But I also think, you know, like as time goes on, right now in the boom of running, like, you know, you've seen it, like it's growing. And I
Yeah.
think maybe this upcoming year it's going to be even bigger, you know?
Yeah. Well, of course, it's going to be bigger because
Yeah.
it's the 40th anniversary, right? I mean, it's going to be like an amazing event.
You want to
just-
be there.
Yes.
You want to be there.
Absolutely. It's going to be a party. And also, it's definitely going to sell out again
Yeah.
quick. I mean, so we need, you know, if you're thinking about running, you have to get in there and register because it's going to be unreal, right? I
It really is.
yeah.
I feel like it's 40 years. It's 40 years of like also celebrating the legacy runners. And
Yeah.
I think there's so many of them where it's just phenomenal to see that. It's not just like a few of them. It's so many that have been doing it
Yes.
year after year after year.
Yes. Yeah, it's amazing to watch that group every year in their
Yeah.
group picture, you know. Of course, little by little, it's starting to shrink, but, you know, it's amazing. You know,
Yeah.
you know, talking about legacy runners, I remember running, it was like mile 3. We had just come out of Dodger Stadium, and this guy was just flying past me, and he
Yeah.
was a legacy runner. It's just like, wow. Like
Isn't it
inspiring.
incredible?
Yeah.
It's like, man, at some point I'm like, I don't know how many years the LA Marathon's going to be, but I'm like, eventually maybe I'll become part of the legacy runners.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, wow. But no, it's really, really
Yeah.
incredible to see like so many people committed to the marathon.
Yeah.
And also just, even though, I mean, I've seen this happen where like they don't train for the marathon, but they still go out there. And I
Right.
think that's something that LA Marathon should take or talk more about. That majority of the people who are also there is
Yeah.
back of the pack. And it's so
Yes.
inclusive compared to other marathons.
Yeah.
It really is inclusive when it comes to like waiting for the people too. Obviously the race, like the finish gets, taken down.
Yes,
But I
yes.
think it's just amazing to still see that, they're still encouraging people to go
Yeah.
on the sidewalk, run it. And at the end of the day, like, you don't get to see that in a lot of races.
Yeah, I agree. And, this year for the 40th, I'm going to ask you to commit with me. I'm going to wait at the very end. I'm going to go, of course, change and stuff. I'm going to come back to that finish line, and I'm going to cheer on those last people coming in. So
It really is
Yeah.
amazing. I had a friend one year that she finished like in like almost 8 hours and a half. And like, it didn't matter. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're still a finisher. You still
Yeah.
ran 26.2
Yeah.
miles, ran, walk. It doesn't matter. You're
Yeah.
doing the distance.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible because I feel like as much as we look up to elite runners, we should also look up to the people back of the pack. Maybe because I'm like, I could relate to them. I have been there before. And it's like so much work. You're out there for so many hours.
Yes.
And you're not giving up. You have negative thoughts coming in more constantly,
Yeah.
and through a longer length of time, but you're still just
Yeah.
walking, running, and moving ahead, and
Yeah.
at the end you finish.
Yeah, even in like a 5-hour marathoner doesn't even understand that the resources start to dwindle for these back of the pack people,
Yeah.
and they're really pushing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And I think one thing you also notice is that they're carrying like, their pack because they know that, things are going to start running out.
Right.
And I have experienced that where I'm back of the pack, and obviously not every marathon has been great. So
Yeah.
I've experienced that, and things start running out.
Yeah.
And so it's good that, like they
Yeah.
know that, okay, I need to carry my own
Yeah.
stuff. But I think for LA, when it comes to it, I love how majority of the runners are like back of the pack.
Yeah.
Because it really is inclusive when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And they also have like the party paces. I don't know if you heard of them, but they celebrate that too.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
We need to expose more of that.
Yeah, there was this one year I was like, you know what? I might as well just take in the back. But I didn't, because you feel that when you're running, you're like, oh man, everyone's running. I want to run too.
Yes.
And
yes,
so
of course.
you pick it up,
Yeah.
and then eventually
Yeah.
you regret it later on, and you're like, oh man, I should have slowed down earlier.
Yeah.
But it's great. It
But
really is.
I will also say too, one LA marathon, I ran across the finish line, and I ran all the way back to pull a runner in, and they were back of the pack. There's a party back there.
Yeah.
They're partying back there. They're suffering, resources are dwindling, but
They're
it's
having
a
fun.
different experience
Yeah.
back there. And I always try and tell people there's a party going on.
Yeah.
It's amazing
It
to
really
watch.
is. It really is. I mean, I seen it where like my friend, like she's like a 6-hour marathoner,
Yeah.
and she's in the back of the pack. She's having fun. She's having a blast. She finishes and she's like, I feel great. And it's like a challenge at the end of the day too,
Yeah.
It's just amazing to see like
Yeah.
so many people show up with different abilities, and at the end it's just, you're celebrating the city too,
Sure, yeah.
You're coming together as a community and just taking in, that beautiful day.
I love that.
Yeah.
And the LA Marathon Ambassador Program, something you're very proud of. You've been an ambassador for how many years now?
I think it's I started in 2019.
Okay.
So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So
Yeah.
I think like 5-6 years. Yeah.
And every year changes, represents something different for you, and I'm sure you're very proud as you travel, across. You represent Los Angeles. You always say Los Angeles, and that's
Yeah.
what I love about that, and I love that about you. And to say you're LA Marathon ambassador, you're very big on Los Angeles, and I love that.
Yeah, I think when it comes to LA, it's always going to be a special place. It was the first marathon I ever ran. It was also my 100. It's just always going to be magical.
Yeah.
Regardless, it was the first one. And I think I don't know which one was your first one.
It was, I can't even remember, but
No?
it started in downtown LA, ended in downtown LA.
Oh,
So we're
wow.
talking 20 years ago.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way. Are you sure it wasn't the LA Marathon? No.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like very special to me.
Yeah.
It's always going to be part of me regardless of what.
Yeah.
And it's just that marathon where you get to run in your city.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to ask you, so obviously I besides your first LA Marathon in the 100th, what has been your favorite LA Marathon moment? between those? Because I would imagine your favorite LA marathon moment would be either of those. Right?
Yeah, my favorite one was actually my first marathon.
Yeah. So what would it
Yeah.
be, not counting those, favorite
Yeah.
LA marathon moment? Something that comes to the top of your head.
I'm trying to think right now. It would be, I think it was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was actually maybe 2020
Okay.
because it was the last year we ran in Santa Monica.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So,
Maybe.
yeah.
If not, then 2019 because that was the year where like I finally got a PR after like 5 years
Yeah.
of like 5 years. I think
Yeah.
it was like 2019.
That's
Yeah.
that'd be your favorite. Yeah.
I think 2019. It
Yeah.
was just, the weather was great. It was sunny, but it was just a good day to run
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So, Jocelyn, so what is next for you? What's next for the Warrior? I mean, do you have anything you can share coming up in races? Or?
So, as you guys know, I didn't finish Western States. So, I feel like now I'm focusing more on trail races and I'm going to continue working on that. I'm still going to be running road. It's basically who I am.
Yeah, that's who we are.
And I just think I found when it comes to trails a part of me where I could challenge myself even further.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm going to be aiming for another 100. Right now I'm currently like waitlisted. So one thing about 100 milers, as much as you'll be shocked, it's actually really popular. Right now I'm number 600 for Javelina 100.
600 on the
In the
wait
wait
list.
list. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to get in. Then I also have Mountains Lakes 100. That one's in Oregon. I'm waitlisted like 70
Okay.
in the list. So I have a
It's a
chance.
good shot.
Yeah. And that one's like in September.
Yeah.
And then I also have, what's the other one that I'm in the wait list for? I forgot this other one that I'm in the wait list
Yeah,
for. I think it's
yeah.
also in Oregon.
Okay.
So we're just hoping to get into one of those.
Yeah.
If I don't get into one of those, then I'm just going to find another 100 miler.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll continue running marathons. I'm planning to work with the Boston Marathon for like Marathon 129.
Yes.
Trying to like match it up.
Sure. Sure.
But we'll
That'd
see.
be amazing.
Because it's the 129th
Yes.
edition of the
Yeah.
Boston Marathon. But we'll see if I get to that.
I'm sure you'll figure it out.
I got to
Yeah.
run some marathons
Yeah.
in there.
No.
But so I'm excited.
I hope you make it because, we'll be there as well. So,
Yeah, I would love
it'd
to see you
Yeah,
guys.
it'd be awesome. Yeah. So if anybody wanted to find you on social media, Instagram is, what is your handle?
Jocelyn the Warrior.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And, any other social media platforms you have?
I mean, no. I would just say
No.
Instagram. I use Facebook just for like here and there races.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you want to reach me, Instagram would be the
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
No,
It was
thank you for inviting me. I
so
had fun.
amazing. Yeah, it was
Let's
so
do this
amazing.
again.
Yeah. I was
Next
just
time
gonna-
it's gonna be me interviewing you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel
It's-
like there's like you need one where it's just about you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
About your background, how you got into running, talk more about your family.
I
It's pretty
appreciate
cool.
that. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Just before you said that, I was going to say, I feel like we could keep going for hours here, but, obviously we're going to cut it. But I'm hoping that before LA Marathon again, before the 2025, we sit down again. We have another conversation about, the upcoming race. I think a lot of people would love to hear what you have to say some more, and maybe some more accomplishments, from today to that point. So
Sounds
got to bring
good.
you back. Yeah. But thank you so much for taking the time. I always tell everyone that I meet that does ask me about you, and I always tell them that I think the best part about you, Jocelyn, is the fact that you have this amazing mentality to go out and run all these races. But every time I've been around you, Jocelyn, you're always smiling. You're always happy. You're always laughing. And you're just like the sweetest person. And it's just so refreshing for someone who's accomplished so much at such a young age to just be so inviting to everyone you meet. So thank you for being that person.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I feel like at the end of the day it's just like I'm just like anyone else,
Yeah.
At the end it's just like it just happens that I happen to do all of these races, but at the
Yeah.
end it's just like I'm just like anyone else.
You
I
are.
call myself an average runner.
Yes.
I really am. And so
Yeah.
I don't think like you know?
Yeah.
I love talking with everyone. I love hearing their stories, and I just love connecting with people.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that about you. But, you know, there are some people that have accomplished maybe half of what you've have accomplished, and they just kind of pretend they don't see you, or, you know, and you've always been amazing with people. I watch you a lot with everyone, and you're just always cracking up, having fun. So thank you for that. Yeah. But we're going to have you back on the Rizzo Run Club podcast soon. So
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So again, just an amazing episode. The 2025 LA Marathon, I am on a mission to make this accessible to those who cannot afford registration fees. So if you are somebody that needs assistance, you can go to RizzoRunClub.com. You can click contact, and you can leave your information and send me a message, and I will do my best to make sure you get registered. And I always say this on every episode, that any information that you share with me will be 100% confidential unless you'd like to come on here and tell your story. But I want you to feel safe and secure knowing that you can reach out to me and I will help you, and that will stay between us. Also, if you would like to donate, you could go to RizzoRunClub.com. There are several options to purchase donations, and we are looking forward to Hoka joining us, and you know, anybody who would like to help the LA running community get out here and participate in the biggest race of the LA Marathon, which is the 40th running. But thanks again for sticking around, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Do you mind taking a photo of us?
Yeah. This episode was self-produced and filmed in Venice, California. Special thanks to Lauren Hiltzer and his production company, HK Corp, for allowing us to film at their office. The best way to support this channel is to subscribe and like. If you are interested in sponsoring an episode, you can contact me at rizzo@RizzoRunClub.com. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.